50 years ago, this whole area was decimated by bombs. It was a military center, and so everything you see here is in the last 50 years. And so what is Park Nicollet doing in Toyohashi, Japan? And the top leadership in the organization, much of it, is here today. And it reminds me a little of that Cat Stevens song, if you remember that, On the Road to Find Out. I think we're a little bit on the road to find out as to why we're here. In some ways, we are here on trust from what we've heard about this process and what we learn from it. And as a result of that, we've come on trust, but we're also finding out why we're here. And one of the things that really struck me yesterday was looking at the trips that Sakichi Toyoda made early on in his contemplation about the future of that company. And he went to the US and as a result of that, to see what is possible, understand the threat of not responding to what is possible, returning with some resolve to do something about it, and eventually turn the tables. So that what was originally a trip to the US is now trips to Japan. And I think that is perhaps what we're doing here a bit. We're seeing what is possible. We're understanding the threat of not really getting to the waste and what we need to do in healthcare. Another way to look at it, that we are looking at a changing perception of what our reality is. And by observing something very different, we come back with eyes that are different, that are unable to look at the same things the way we've been doing it, the way we have. And so we will come back to Park Nicollet, back to Minnesota, with different eyes than we would have had if we'd not made this trip. I think something that we've seen is understanding how do we gain energy from our obstacles, and as opposed to being defeated by our obstacles. And that we saw yesterday in seeing the fact that there were all sorts of reasons why Toyota could not succeed. Was seen to be, it was impossible to create a passenger car. It's impossible to have efficient health care. And how do we respond to those obstacles? Do we respond to that with a sense of defeat, or do we gain energy from that as well? Can't expect it to be perfect. You can't expect to eliminate infections or eliminate errors or eliminate defects in the process, because it's just too complex and every patient is different, and therefore we can't expect to achieve perfection. And I think we're challenging that in our own thought. And then something that I think, John, you were just talking about, which is we're not looking at healthcare. Why wouldn't we be looking at healthcare? Well, as John said, we realize that healthcare is coming to the present time without an assumption that perfection can be achieved. And we're really challenging that. And as a result, we're looking at we're trying to translate a manufacturing example and manufacturing discipline and dealing with immense complexity in manufacturing and turning that into something that is the basis for understanding how we can achieve something very perfected. And so we have to be studious, and I think we're being that on this trip. We're being studious, as was just said, courageous, and innovative. So in doing this, and we've been talking about our goals when we talk about care that is safe, we're going to be eliminating preventable deaths in the hospital. That's on our list. We've been talking about making care easy which means there's no waits, there's no hassle, there's no frustration in the flow that our patients experience. We've been talking about increasing personalized care, that we're going to give our staff the support they need to respond right away. So all of those things go together. And affordable, not to be forgotten. Affordable in that is if care is unaffordable, we will either forego our health or we'll forego the other things that are really important to our future. So that's the responsibility we have. And so as we talk about these value streams that we've been presenting this morning, the idea is that we would be saying, are we committing now to carry through on those and actually achieve the future state that we so much want to do? So I'll color in this fellow's eye, and he's going to look straight ahead here. Okay, one eye started, and I'll also sign this as a commitment to our continued work together as a team that is vitally interdependent. And so our signatures on this, as we pass this around and sign this, is a commitment to continued diligence, unblinking commitment to continue on until we achieve the goals that we've set out to do.